I really had to get grounded. That's for sure. I started to think okay, now that I have a job, I'm going to use this money to put towards my art career because that's what I want to do. And that's where the money is going. So that's where the money went.
Jamilla Okubo is an interdisciplinary artist that explores the intricacies of belonging to an American, Kenyan, and Trinidadian identity. Born in Clinton, North Carolina, raised and now residing in Washington, D.C., she holds a BFA in integrated design from Parsons and has built a successful career as a painter and mixed media artist. The complexities of Blackness are often at the center of her work, but so is fashion. She has worked internationally on several collaborations with major fashion brands like Gorman in Australia, Pierre Moss. She has also designed 3 Lady Dior bags for Christian Dior and has recently worked with the Tory Burch Foundation. You may have also seen her mural work at Hudson Yards in New York City, at Facebook, or the Apple Store at Carnegie Hall in DC. The list goes on. I had an opportunity to catch up with Jamilla after she wrapped up her exhibit in DC entitled, "I Do Not Come to You as a Myth, I Come to You as a Reality," which was showcased at the Mahari Sakar Gallery, where she reclaimed gaze as an artist, a Black woman, and a manifestation of ancestral dreams. It was awesome. She also used the signature celestial moon print and boots from Marine Sarah in her work, which I also loved. Check out our full conversation. Hello, Jamilla, and welcome to A Fashion Moment. You know, I am such a fan of your work. I mean, everyone I talk to, I'm like, do you know Jamilla Okubo? Like, do you know who that is? Like, I feel like you should. So, when I discovered you when, working at City Paper and we were working on that big festival, and they were like, you need to get in touch with, some DC artists and see what's going on so they can do these cool workshops. And I'm like, oh, this is a learning curve. And I really delved into it. I was like, let me get my SEO on. And I stumbled across your page and I was like, wait, who is this? Who is this? And then I went through your bio and your website, and I literally went to buy everything you were ever associated with. I was looking for some prints. I'm still waiting. I don't know if you believe in them, but it's cool.
Trying to work with the gallery to create some. So
hopefully
soon.
Yay, you will. It will. It's going to be amazing. But for those folks who don't know, let's start from the beginning. I want all of us to just delve into who you are. So where are you from and where did you grow up?
So I'm from Clinton, North Carolina, but I grew up in Washington, D.C. Apparently, I literally only lived in Clinton for 6 months after I was born.
All good.
And then my mom was like, I'm getting out of here and we're going back to D.C. So that's what happened there. But I would spend summers in North Carolina with my grandmother. She would always take me to visit my older aunts and uncles, so.
I love it.
Yeah.
What was your grandmother like? Did she have any influence on who you are as an artist, or did she inspire you at all in your life?
I would say, yeah, definitely. She is the matriarch, the fashionista of the household.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's where me and my mom, me and my sister really get our shopping habits from. I
love it.
She loves clothing. She loves color, prints, fabrics. She literally has closets full of clothing and shoes and more clothing. So I think her sense of style and like love for fashion definitely poured down, into me. And yeah, she definitely influenced my art, I would
I
say.
love it. I love it. What inspired you to become an artist? Like, were you consistently creating things as a child? Or, was there someone that, a piece that you saw and you were like, I want to do that. I'm inspired. Like, how did it happen?
My mom, she definitely inspired me a lot. She, I think, like when I was in elementary school, she was working on getting her master's at American University for, I think it was like film and photography. Yeah.
Oh, she's an
So
artist, just like
yes,
you and
my mom is the artist in the
That's
family.
dope.
Apparently we have like an uncle who also was an artist too.
Wow.
But she like really, I guess, well, she said that she saw something in me early on, like the pictures that I would draw at school and bring them home. She was like, you have a really good eye for color. So she always like put me in different like art programs around the city. Like I used to go to some summer camp called Capitol Hill Arts Workshop.
Okay.
And,
Is that still around? I'm like,
I think so, yeah.
write that down, parents. Write that down.
It's in Capitol Hill. I think it's still there. I hope so. It had an amazing program too. Like I was doing art related things. I was doing like jazz, hip hop, nutcrackers, and yeah, I
That
was
is
all over the
awesome.
place doing dance and like painting and art. And like my mom would take like African dance classes, and I would go with her to her dance classes and like sometimes join,
Wow.
in on the dancing, or like she would have me like participating as like a mini actress in her film projects with her group projects at American University. Like I remember one time she had me, I don't know, I was basically some little girl, and I just remember running around, running away from a vampire. And that was whatever the project was, that's what it was. And I was like the lead role apparently, but so yeah, I've always been in the arts because of my mom. And then also like at my elementary school, I had a really good art teacher, Miss Whalen, and which is so crazy because she came to see my exhibit that's up right now. And it was like a full circle moment because like she influenced my love for art. Like she introduced us to so many different artists, art practices, styles, and like always had like really thoughtful projects for us to like create. So yeah, she was also a huge influence in my
I love that. It's so important to like, you just never know how you're impacting children.
Yeah,
you never know. Wow. So, you actually went to Parsons.
Yeah.
Why Parsons, out of all the schools, and what did you study? Like, and how did that impact your career?
So my senior year of high school, I don't know why or what happened. I don't think I was lazy, but I just had a lot of work to do and stuff. So I only applied to 3 different schools, or I was really stubborn. Yeah, I think.
You're like, oh, there's a lot going on,
So I applied to Parsons, Pratt Institute, and School of Visual Arts, all schools in New York.
Yeah.
Like I knew I wanted to go to school in New York. And I got accepted to all 3, which was like, whew, thank goodness. I don't know what I would have done.
That's major.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my plan was to go for fine arts because I studied painting and visual arts at Duke Ellington School of the Arts High School. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be a painter. And then, but I also had a love for fashion because my mom had this friend who was like super into fashion, like always hipping her to like the latest, like cool, like, independent, like fashion magazines. And I would just collect the magazines and I'd be like, oh my God, I love fashion. And then I started subscribing to like Nylon magazine.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed. I would rip out the pages and like put them on my like wall and whatnot, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be a fashion illustrator. So then I was like kind of in between like painting, fashion illustration, which one can I do? And then I guess it was fate. I don't know. But Pratt and Parsons had like a open house, kind of like freshman orientation day. And both of them were on the same day. And at first I was like, okay, we're going to go to New York and I'm going to try to make it to both.
Oh my God.
And I ended up deciding to go to Parsons open house first. And I just like fell in love. I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with the school, seeing the students, working and sewing and doing all these things, and I was like, oh shit, I want to go to Parsons. I love it here. I want to be here. And that's kind of like how I chose to go to Parsons.
Wow.
Freshman year, I didn't, it's like foundation year. So they kind of like, this is your chance to get, dabble into different things and take classes before you like elect your major. Yeah. And I took a lot of like fashion construction classes, and I was like, I kind of like fashion. Do I want to be a fashion designer? And I was like, can I do both? I want to do everything. I want to learn everything while I'm here, I like took this class called, I forgot I think it was called like 3D's Objects. And this was like my first like introduction to fashion, because we basically had to like create garments of clothing from like recycled materials.
Wow.
So like I made a dress made out of like the paper magazines that I had been collecting.
Stop it right now.
If I could like pull up the photo and send it to you, it's so embarrassing now, but yeah, it was.
I love it.
Actually, it's on my Tumblr. You can see everything that I've created while I was at Parsons on my Tumblr page. It's still up. It's still public.
I can't wait.
Just like, I just like documented everything that I was making while I was in school. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into fashion. I kind of stumbled upon it. And then when it came to declaring my major, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was like, do I still want to do fine arts and paint? And then I found out about this program called integrated design. And
what is that?
Yeah, it's like a self-disciplined, interdisciplinary major program where you choose a focus that they offer. So it was like fashion, sustainability, service design, and I believe product design.
Wow.
So those were like your 4 focuses. And then you basically create your own curriculum around that. Like they have core classes for each focus, but then you would choose your electives, to inform your practice or studies or whatever. So I chose fashion because I was like, I really like fashion and I want to paint still. So I was trying to figure out like, how can I take painting classes and do fashion stuff? I wasn't able to take painting classes because they were being really like anal about letting non-finance majors get in. So I ended up taking a lot of fashion courses. Like I'm pretty much like a fashion major, but because it was a self-disciplinary program, I took like in my core classes, when we had like projects that we were focusing on, I would like somehow incorporate painting into the project.
Wow.
Because I really wanted to paint. And so it was really me just like remembering everything I learned from high school about painting and then figuring out how to incorporate that with like my fashion studies. And
girl, you're doing that right now. You're doing it right now.
Yeah. So and then I took a lot of like print design classes too. Like, but again, Parsons didn't have like a very rigorous fashion program dedicated to like pattern design. It was just like the basics and what you need to know, with designing prints and patterns and doing textiles in case you do work for a company, because that's what they're preparing you for, to work for one of these like major design houses. So
now, I know you did intern throughout your time in New York. So what kind of internships were you tapping into at the time?
Freshman year, I was really ambitious, and I don't know what I was thinking, because I was a full-time student, 18 credits, and I was like, I want to do a fashion
18
internship.
credits? Girl, no.
Luckily, I didn't have a job at that point yet. But by the second year, when I did have to get a job, I was like, oh, this is too much. Yeah. But I was still pushing through. But my first internship was with Africa Fashion Week, New York. By Adiat Disu. Yeah. So that was like really fun. I was like a social media strategist. Yeah. So I was doing social media for the Instagram, the Facebook, email newsletters, doing the graphic design for the email newsletters, the whole shebang. And then like I finally got to like experience Fashion Week, or like at least Africa Fashion Week, because they had their own separate like runway show. And it was awesome. Like, and also not to mention Adiat, Miss Disu, she was like a boss babe. Like she was bad. Like, I love it. And she was also really young. So I was like really inspired by that. Yeah. Like, she just had it together. And I was like, wow, I want to be like her when I grow up. I also interned for Brother Bellies. I interned for Suno, New York. You did? No longer there. I mean, it's no longer a brand, but I really enjoyed interning for them too.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Did I intern for anyone else? I think that was really it. Yeah. Probably all that I could do anyways, because I was also working part-time. I was like working part-time at Anthropology all throughout like my studies. Yeah. And then sometimes I think by like my senior year, I was doing work study on campus too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're juggling. A beast. You're a beast. Like you're
I don't know what's going on now. I'm too tired to
Whatever. Get out of here. Look, I mean, let me tell you guys, okay? Jamilla is like the queen of the collab. But before I get into all the collabs, so you graduate. Did you work for someone? Did you go out on your own? Like, what were your next steps, and sort of what was that process like?
That process was very scary because I don't know why, but I just felt like I wasn't prepared or didn't have all of the skill sets. And this might have been a mistake on my own, or maybe not, because maybe this was the journey that was carved out for me. But I had already thought that I was not going to get a job in fashion because I didn't have all of the knowledge that like a 4-year fashion student had, even though I took like classes. So I ended up moving back home and I worked at this like dessert drink place called Tory Moly. So I was making like Burmese dessert drinks. That was like my first job out of college. I was like, wow. Well. And then I was, I was burnt out also. So I just was like, I just need a job and I need to make money and I'm tired and I just need to get some rest and like figure out what my plan is. And so then I was given the opportunity by a former high school teacher. He put me in contact with this independent publishing house called Shout Mouse Press, and it's based in DC. Yeah. And they work with high school students who are, aspiring authors. And so the high school students that they work with write the books, and then they collaborate with illustrators to illustrate their books. Wow. Which is really awesome. So I was given the opportunity to apply for that. And then I got the opportunity and I was working with, these high school students over the summer who wrote this story about a lion and a hyena. And it was basically about racism. but in the jungle or like in the, animal kingdom. And yeah, it was pretty cool. And they wrote the books for like some second graders or third graders that they were tutoring. I was like, I love this. Like, this is so cool. So that was like my first like gig out of college. Like when I was in school, I also started doing freelance illustrating too. Because I was like sharing my work on Tumblr and it started to get reblogged and shared. And because people were reblogging my like work that I was doing at Parsons, people started reaching out to me for like illustration opportunities.
Wow.
So that's kind of how I fell into illustration, because I didn't take any classes, on how to be an illustrator. I just remembered what I learned at Duke and just kept doing that.
So people are looking at your Tumblr, they're getting, they're reaching out to you for opportunities like, hey, and then did it just sort of build from there? And you were like, you know what? Wow.
That's literally how I've been working for like the past few years, just by like sharing my work on social media, on Tumblr, like really, like my work is now out there. So I guess when people look up, like African art or Black art or like, Black illustrators or women artists, my work pops up in their feed or search engines, which is really great because shout out to hashtags.
Yes.
Because I hashtagged a lot when I was using my Tumblr. Everything you could think of.
I love it. Well, I got to ask, in that period, like before that major transition and people started reaching out, what was sort of like your mental space? Were you, you mentioned you were burnt out, but like what sort of like mental, like while you're making these like, drinks or shakes or, whatnot, like what's going through your head and what kind of energy was happening at that point? And like, what advice would you give someone who's at a point where they're tired or they're just like, they're moving back home because of, the pandemic and they weren't able to pursue their dreams or make that next collection and they're not sure, where things are going? Like what kind of mindset or energy would you recommend for them from that experience that you had?
For me, honestly, like at that time, I was feeling lost. I was like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything creative. Like, what is this? This isn't my life. This isn't who I am.
No.
I feel like I went through a period of just like, oh my God. And, like, this is when Instagram was like, started to get more popping, and I'm looking at other people live their lives and working in fashion.
That'll do it every time.
Living in New York, going on, exotic trips. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Oh my God, I'm a failure. But then I was like, wait a minute, no. And, like after I did the illustration for the book, I got another opportunity to like create artwork for like an auction house, or like this auction. But I mean, like, I really had to like get grounded. That's for sure. I started to think like, okay, now that I have a job, I'm going to use this money to put towards my art career because that's what I want to do. And that's where the money is going. So that's where the money went. Like I was making the drinks and then I was using that money to go buy supplies to like make art for, the children's book. And then, getting paid from the children's book allowed me to like buy more art supplies and like, create from home. And also I started looking, I was like, I kind of had to make a plan. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out what it is that I want to do. And at the time I was like, okay, I'm going to start my own pattern design brand. That's what I'm going to do. So I like signed up for this pattern design program called Make It in Design. And they offer different level classes depending on where you're at with, print design or surface pattern design. And I was taking those classes online, trying to build up my like portfolio and, just like get back into the rhythm of like making art. And then I got the opportunity because someone recommended me to like do packaging design for Freddie Harrell. She has her like hair, what do you call it? Like hair clip-ins and wigs.
Yeah.
Brand. I think it's called Rad Swan. That's what it's called now. But I designed the packaging design for like the first wave of like when she had started her brand. And that was really cool because I was like, oh my God, I can do this. Okay.
Oh, this is premium hair, girl. This is premium.
I got to like, she had a pop-up in New York. And I finally got to meet her, and like try on the wigs. I was like, ooh,
stop
like,
it. I love it. Girl, I'm like the
Um,
wig queen. I got my Bobby
yes,
Boss.
I need a bob like that. Like, seriously.
Bobby Boss, Selena. Now everybody's going to go buy it up.
And it has a little color. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I have a blue one in today.
Yes.
She's a midnight blue. They're hard to come by, but
I love it.
That's amazing. I love that. So essentially, getting grounded and then making a plan.
Yes, make a plan. Yeah.
Love
and
it.
Stick to it. Like, also, not to mention, I even had like a poster with my like 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals on the wall. Yeah, I did. I threw it away and I wish I didn't because then I could look back at it and be like, wow, this is like when I hit those marks. But like one of them was like, to become an artist full time. And then another goal was to like, showcase my art in a gallery in DC, showcase my art in a gallery in New York. Like I was just like,
I love it.
Putting it out into the universe, So.
And you know what, guys, we got to break this down for you. I know Jamilla, she's like, I'm like, no. So let's go down the list of collabs. And I mean, I could go on all day, but when I discovered that Jamilla had collaborated with Christian Dior on an actual handbag, I died. It was like, you basically have a lady Dior bag, like your design. Where is it? If anybody knows where we can find one, please DM me, email me, text me, like, please, because I'm looking for a Christian Dior Jamilla Okubo bag, like stat. So how did that happen?
So at the time I was working full time in retail. So this was like my second year, being out of college, I guess. Yeah. And I was working at And Other Stories. They had a store in Georgetown for a good little like 3 years, I want to say. But yeah, I was working there full time. And then I got an email from the brand. Yeah, I was just like,
while you're working retail full time, you get an email from Christian Dior, the brand.
Yes. And they're like, it wasn't the brand, but it was like an art consulting company that is working with them and was helping them, find artists to work with, I guess.
Wow. Yeah.
So they reached out to me and I was like, I've never heard of you guys. I'm Googling it.
Throwing shade.
Like, everything's in French. What is this? Oh, I don't know. And I'm just like, is this real? Is this scam?
They were like, we found this girl in Washington, D.C. that we love.
You're right. I was just like, is this a scam? Like, and it's funny because at first I was like, if this is real, this is crazy.
Right?
And, I'm like emailing them back and I'm like, okay. And the process was odd. Like they were like, if you can like submit like 3 designs, we're going to share it with Christian Dior, the brand. And then if they approve, then you got the collaboration. I'm like, how'd that work? I thought y'all was reaching out to me because, you wanted to work with me. But I was so confused. I was just like, okay. And I'm still like on the like, I'm like, I don't know if this is real. I don't know. So I literally, the designs that I made, I did it the old school way because I don't know how to like trademark, or put what is it called? A watermark. Watermark. Yeah. I literally kept stamping my name all over the document. And then I submitted it to them. They were like, I'm sorry, ma'am, but can you remove that thing that you have on top? And I was like, how do I know I can protect my work? How am I supposed to like
that is so
protect
cute.
my work? And they're like, I assure you, everything will go as planned and you will get this collaboration. I'm like, okay. And so then I, sent the images of my designs without the watermark. And they were like, okay, great. They love it. I'm like, okay, now what? Like, what does this mean? Who do I meet?
Right.
Yeah. So then they were like, okay, so like Dior, their the couturier house. I might be saying the term
you're saying
wrong.
it right. Yeah.
They were going to create like samples of the treatments that I wanted. Actually, no. Yes, that's what happened. So I had to like tell them what I had envisioned for like the materials and things, and then I finally had a meeting with Olivier Villalobos and one of the head designers at the time. I think his name was Alex, I think it was Alex. And we met at, it's so funny. Well, I'm just a paranoid person. I don't trust anyone.
Hey, I mean, we're Black in America. It happens,
Exactly. So I literally, we like, they sent me a address to meet them at, and it was a hotel. And I was like, why are we meeting at a hotel?
Okay.
What is this? I hit up my friend who lives in New York.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, hey, Darius, I'm going to be in New York. I'm supposed to have a meeting with a specific brand. And I told him who the brand was because like he's like one of my close friends from high school. And I was like, yeah. And we're supposed to meet at a hotel to like discuss the designs, but I don't want to get kidnapped. So can you like meet me and walk with me to the hotel? And in case anything pops off, you're my witness. You were there in the lobby with me.
I love it.
And he actually met me at the hotel. And like, it's funny. Oh my God, I'm such a paranoid person. I saw this like big black truck pull up to the hotel. I was like, oh my
God. They're coming to get me.
But really, it was just Olivier Villalobos, getting chauffeured around in his, truck, SUV, whatever you want to call it. And we meet in this really nice, like, it's like an indoor, outdoor, like garden cafe in the back of the hotel. I'm like, okay. It's cool.
It's legit.
I definitely was overthinking everything. I was like, why are we meeting at a hotel? Are we meeting in a hotel room? This is sketchy. You know? And but it went really well. And like they, brought out the different materials, samples, and, like, cause I had all of my bags were beaded actually, or had some sort of beading techniques. So they basically brought out samples of like beaded material, like my beaded designs. My designs like beaded basically on like leather, on the leather that was going to be made out, the handbags that's what they were going to be made out of. So that was like amazing to see. And then we were just talking about colors and how big do we want the flowers or how small, and like just the little intricate design details that, make up a bag. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I want to do this.
Podcasts are awesome. And I know you love them too, or you wouldn't be here right now. But have you ever thought about starting your own? Don't worry, you don't have to be a techie, but you do need a bit of guidance so you don't make costly mistakes. My name is Sunny, and I've been podcasting for a long time. I've launched more than 15 profitable podcasts, and I'm the founder of the Independent Podcast Network. My online course, How to Launch Your Profitable Podcast in 30 Days, gives you the keys to the 5 Ps of podcasting, which is everything you need to launch and grow a successful podcast. You get unlimited access to more than 35 videos and dozens of handouts. And when you purchase my course, you're also supporting this awesome podcast because they're getting 50% of the money when you use their special link. How cool is that? Let me help you get started with your podcast. Go to podcastareawesome.com/fashion. That's podcastareawesome.com/fashion.
Was your mind blown? Like, here you are
Super.
working at the retail store, and then you're going out to New York.
Yeah, I was like, sorry,
talking
guys,
about a Christian Dior handbag design. Like, did people think, like, when you came back, like, were they just like, girl, please, like, what are you talking about? Like,
some of my coworkers was like, huh, what, Jamilla, Dior, like that's random, like, but I think over time they start to realize, like, oh shit, Jamilla, you popping. I'm like, I'm just, trying to make work and get out of here because I don't want to be here forever. So,
wow, that was happening.
It was happening. And then, like, after that, like, I started calling out a lot more, not calling out, like saying I'm not coming in, but just like requesting off.
Yeah.
I was requesting off a lot. I was like, I have to go to New York again to meet with the vice president of communications at Dior. Yeah, they're coming from France, so I can't miss this meeting. So sorry, guys. And they're like, what? And like my manager was like, and then I knew you were gonna leave soon. I was like, oh, because like I made a family at like the store that I used to work at. Like, we're still in contact with one another. Like, those are my like girls. But it was just wild.
I love my retail family. Like anybody who's worked on the floor of a retail store, or even, worked as a server or a hostess. I used to be a hostess at Dos Caminos part-time in Soho, Ocala. But those are still some of my closest friends till this day, So it's such a great experience to have.
Yeah, it definitely is. It really is. I think everyone should have that experience once in their lifetime. It'll humble you a little bit,
Tell me about it. But you Gormans in Australia use your artwork for several designs. Pierre Moss, collection 3, or was it 4? 3? I think it was 3.
It was 3, yeah.
3. You always like, I know, like, I'm always like, oh my God, Jamilla, like I saw one of your shirts. And you're like, Kirsten, I'm not a designer. I'm an artist. But I mean, like, how does that process work? Do you basically create the prints for the bodies, like the pieces and the collection, or do they say, hey, Jamilla, this is what we're thinking about doing, and then you sort of submit like an idea or concept?
Yeah, so they'll usually tell me what the theme is or what they're going for, and then I will just go to town as far as with like illustrations, and then like create patterns. Specifically for Pierre Moss, I created the illustrations for their pattern designs. Like I did submit a pattern, but I don't think it was that great, which had me shook because I was like, I cannot be submitting shitty designs to Pierre Moss. Like, this is my chance to prove myself.
You're like, my bad, Kirby, my bad. I love it.
No, but like they ended up turning them into some really nice prints, like the illustrations that I created. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I still have a lot to learn, but it was an awesome opportunity. Like I'll send like sketches, and then they'll, tell me which direction they like for me to go in. And like we go in back and forth with like color palettes, and revising the designs.
How did the Gormans thing happen in Australia? Like literally when I found out, I was like, huh, what? I went on your page and I was like, oh, let me go under collaborations because basically I want to buy everything that I can. And when I discovered it, I was like, wait, what? I just literally went crazy. Me and my sister, like we're still just like we swap outfits like in your collection. So like how in the world did that how do people find you? Like what is going on here?
They keep finding me on the internet.
They really do.
I'm one of those artists that pops up when you look up black art, or I don't know, maybe it's like my art is blackity, 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 black.
Black. One of our favorite phrases on the podcast. Blackity, black, black, black.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, Lisa Gorman, the owner, she reached out to me via email and was like, I was doing some research on, black art and like artists, and you popped up and I love your work. Or she also said she's been watching my work for a while. I was like, oh shit. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
That's really cool. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. And then that's kind of like how we started working together on that collaboration. And it's really cool because Gorman does collaborations with different artists.
Yeah.
Like every season or every year. And the collaborations are amazing.
They're so
the use of prints and colors and the way her team turns these, artworks into patterns. Really talented team. And I was lucky enough to like meet them. I got to go to Australia for a week. Yeah. And that was really cool because I got to meet the team. I got a tour of like, the design house and like where they work and where they make samples and all the past samples from collections, and like seeing samples of like what we were working on, and like being able to like buy some of the pieces from their stores. Like I visited different stores in the area because I was in Melbourne, and that was really cool because like I got to meet some of the sales associates. And I was like, yes, like I was a sales associate too.
Gotta go to the floor. I love it.
So yeah, that was really cool. It was a cool moment.
It's just, it's the art world. It's so interesting to me. I mean, I took my one little Harvard Museum Studies intro course and just sort of delved into how art is acquired and, the process and, how it works. And it was just completely fascinating, not only because I was one of the few Black people in the actual class, but also the fact that, there's still a lot of room left for representation in the art world. So I'm curious from your experience, because you are so successful, in so many different ways as a painter, mixed media, collage. I mean, you do so much illustration. How did you navigate the business side in terms of being featured at galleries? Was there a mentor or someone who sort of helped you navigate that portion of the business? And, what are some of the things that artists of color can do to sort of break into or even create their own spaces for their art? I know that's a complex,
yes,
question. We're like, girl, really?
Honestly, as far as like my illustration work, it was a lot of research that I had to do, a lot of Googling. There's like this guidebook that I live by and treat as like my Bible. And this was like what really helped me get my like illustration work career together. As far as like pricing my work, writing contracts, knowing what to look out for, how to go about, talking about a project with the client or negotiating. But it's called the Pricing I think it's the Ethical Pricing Handbook. It's the Graphic Artists Guild Handbook, Pricing and Ethical Guidelines. But that's like my holy grail, my Bible.
We're going to have to put that in the show notes for the audience.
Yes. And then this book called Artwork, Everything You Need to Know and Do as You Pursue Your Art Career. And those two books have really guided me.
Oh my God, you have them with you, like right there.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I was actually looking at them yesterday because I needed some advice.
Yeah.
But also, like, aside from that, over time, I've had a few mentors, or at least older friends who like give me advice on things. Like my friend Miss Love, she's like a artist, illustrator, and muralist in the DMV area. Very talented, amazing work. And then also I have like other mentors who just like have helped me navigate the fine arts world, because this is kind of a new territory for me, considering that like I somehow have a major background in illustration.
They keep finding you. Apple, Facebook, Tory Burch. I'm telling you guys, like she's everywhere. Everywhere I look, I'm like, oh, there's Jamilla.
But I mean, I don't know. Like for me, I've been learning, I would say backwards. Like I started by like putting my work out there and just hoping for the best. And luckily, I've been very lucky or fortunate because companies continue to reach out to me to work with me. I still feel like I need to learn about like how to reach out to companies. Like I feel like I'm at that point where I can do that or like pitch my artwork, but I don't know how to do that because I'm not seasoned in that area.
Girl, you know, we're going to talk offline.
Yeah.
I love it.
I answered your question.
You did answer my question. And I actually think a part of what really comes out, it's, you know, at least just in general in different industries, especially creative ones, sometimes people can feel pressure to sort of like curtail their work in different ways to be more palatable for certain audiences. But from your work, I feel a real sense of 100% like authenticity, like I'm doing me. And if you follow her on social, you will see even more of that come to life, which I love.
Thank you.
So, you know, I have to ask as well, in your opinion, would you consider fashion art? I know that's like a big philosophical question in the art world, and the Costume Institute at the Metropolitan Museum of Art is constantly exploring that. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say yes, it is. Like, you know, the Lady Dior collaboration is a perfect example of that. Dior was, you know, I don't know who gave them the idea or where they saw the idea or who did it first, but it's a brilliant concept. They know that their patrons or like their number one customers are also into art. And what better way to, you know, collaborate with artists on their handbags. And when I tell you, when I went to the launch of it, there were all these people, you know, there was like a select few of people there. And it obviously were the people that is their clientele who spends lots of money on Dior or their handbags and actually collects the Dior lady handbags. Like for a living, you know, the same way Drake was collecting them. Hermes? How do you pronounce that brand?
Yeah, Hermes.
Yeah. I'm really bad at pronouncing things. Hermes. But was it Hermes that he collects? And he was like, I'm collecting these for my future wife?
Yes. Dear Lord. Aren't they all?
Right. So like I met like a dentist and like a doctor, and like these really fancy people.
Where was it? Was it in New York or were you in Paris?
It was in New York. It was in New York, yeah. At one of their like flagship stores. And I like met these people who like have these well-paying jobs, and they're like, yes, I love to collect the Dior Lady Art collaboration bags every year. I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
It's art. It's
art. Like, I still have my Lady Dior bags wrapped up in their like protected plastics, because I'm like, when I get my own place, I'm gonna, put them up and like, like it's art.
I'm like obsessed. It is art, you guys. It's art. My dream at some point, the WPA, like they reach, like I have this concept of showcasing Black art, Black designers, like, and Black fashion art people in DC. And I came up with this concept, and the WPA like reached out, but this is before the pandemic hit, and they were like, oh, we want to interview you for this. And I was like, girl, like, get ready, like, everybody get ready, it's happening, like, I can't wait, because I think there's so much talent, in the district that people just aren't aware of. And so the pandemic hit, and I was like, hey guys, are you still doing interviews? And I was like, I guess not. But like, it is my dream though to see like all of these collaborations that you've done, like actually displayed in an art space.
Yes.
That is my dream. So I want to see the bags in a protective case, displayed in a beautiful, like, this is Jamilla Okubo, like the fashion, like this is the fashion.
Same. I want to do that. I'm like, does that mean, I don't know. Yeah. I want to do an installation like that too. That would be so cool.
Like an installation. I want people to see like all of the amazing work you've done. And all of the amazing, like, DC is a great place. So I am just so thrilled that you're here, and I love the great work that you're doing. Fantastic. And we have to talk about your current exhibit. Now, I know by the time this comes out, it will be over, but tell us a little bit about your project. I do not come to you as a myth. I come to you as a reality. You guys, it took everything to stop me from like crying my eyes out in the gallery when I saw her artwork, because it was just so transformational and beautiful.
Thank you. So that exhibition, I would say it came together over a year. Like, it was definitely a process. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do at the beginning, but then I read this reading by Bell Hooks called The Oppositional Gaze. And I was like, wow, she is speaking to me right now.
I can't. That's when I had my first panic attack, reading Bell Hooks on a bus. It was too much.
I can imagine. I was like,
it was triggering. I was like, I can't breathe.
Oh my God. I know that.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Yeah.
I'd be shook on the bus. I'd probably yell at somebody on accident, like, ooh, excuse me. It was Bell Hooks talking. No.
Triggering.
But that was like kind of what was my starting point. I was like, wow, I want to explore what it looks like to reclaim a Black woman to reclaim her gaze, especially in just a white space and like white supremacist space, like everything, I don't know.
Yeah, but people of all races are, affected by it. That's just real talk. So when you say gaze, are you referring to how she is perceived?
Yeah, how she is perceived, and how people look at her, but also just like, what does it look like for her to like look at you and kind of, assert that this is who I am and you can't change anything about it. Just take it for what it is. I was reading that, she said something like, a lot of slaves, would always put their heads down when, talking to their masters or just like to white people out in public. And to look at a white person and to like look them in their eyes was like a sign of disrespect. But for them, it was like a a resistance, it was a, a form of like freedom, of like, standing their ground, making eye contact. So that was like a huge part of like this body of work, where I was also talking about, what does it look like to be connected to your spirit guide, or your spirit, or your ancestors, whomever you refer to them, they, her, him as. And so it was kind of like those two themes as one. And so in my paintings, you'll see like the main figure, which is this Black woman with Bantu knots, and like her spirit figure. So whenever they're together, her eyes are open. Like you can see that she has yellow eyes. And
is that what the yellow was for? I'm going to ask about those yellow eyes.
Yes.
Wow.
So like, and then there are, portraits that I did of the main figure where she's by herself and you only see like her silhouette, right? Like you don't see any facial features, because that's kind of like a representation of like Black women in their day-to-day lives, living through all that we live through and go through. And it looks like everything is absolutely okay when it's not. That's kind of like what it feels like to exist as a Black woman in this world, in this country, really.
That's what I felt when I saw it. It just all came rushing in as I was reading, the book along with each of the pieces. And I was like, it's so true. And then I started thinking about my experience as a Black woman, my family's experience as I'm delving into my ancestry, like those women. It was just so much. And I could really feel that. And just also, so I love a few of the pieces where the figure is actually in a very powerful stance, or in like, dropping it. And I'm like, yes. But also, what was the inspiration behind, I know you used a lot of celestial patterns, and you selected one that is very similar to marine serre. And so I'm curious where the inspiration for that choice came from in your work.
Well, one, I'm a huge fan of Marine Serre, the brand, and I also just love that pattern. Like, I think it's so bold and like powerful, just like those moons and like the zebra print boots that they also have, or I don't know what if they would consider them zebra prints, but I was like, yeah, I'm obsessed with this. And I was like, that's what my spirit figure would wear, because I know her, like that's just my connection to my spirit figure. She's like this Aries badass. And
wait, are you an Aries?
I am.
That's why I love you. I'm a Gemini. I love Aries. I just freaking love Aries all day, straight, no chaser. And I love it. That is straight, wild. That's why I wanted that photo. I mean, it sold. And I was like, if I could, I'm like obsessed with the one of your spirit. Like just.
Yes. So she's just like
dipping it. It's like, beautiful. I love it. I love it. So what is on the horizon, like that you can actually share with us? Like, is there anything that you're working on?
What am I working on right now? I am, I'm doing like illustrations for the Tory Burch Foundation, which has been really cool. I really love the Tory Burch team. They're amazing women to work with.
They're giving the money to the ladies. Great fellowship program. Go get it.
Yeah, I really love what the Tory Burch Foundation is doing. And I wish I had known that this had existed like 4 or 5 years ago when I was in school. Like, I didn't know the foundation was a thing, Like, if I had known, I definitely would have been on those resources and like going, watching the seminars and reading the interviews and like applying for whatever they were offering, like grants and whatnot. Like, it's such an amazing resource for people. And that's one of, I guess I would say, the advice I would have for people who feel like they're at this point where it's like they don't know what to do. Like, do your research. Like, Google is your best friend. Whatever it is that you are trying to do, put that in your Google search. I don't know, put how to, and like that's your start, of searching.
People messed up with the internet. Like they messed up. We have Google, we have social media,
We have Skillshare.
It's like, the world is your oyster.
The world is your oyster if you use it correctly. Like also YouTube University. You can learn so much on YouTube for free. I mean, yeah, the ads suck, but it's free information that someone else is getting paid to tell you. So
yeah, that's true. That is true. Well, I have to ask, we ask all of our guests on the show, what is one of them, because I'm sure you have several, but one of your favorite fashion moments of all time? It could be something that you experienced or something that you observed, or even, just something that happened. People have such a variety of experiences that they mention on the show.
I would say for me, as far as experiences, it was definitely working closely with the Dior team.
Hands down. On
designing that handbag. Like it was like heaven for me. It was like being in a candy store, a little kid in a candy store, where it's like, you can design your bag however you want. And I'm like, really? I want to do all the things. And I was like, I want beads and glimmer and shining and Swarovski crystals.
Oh, you were getting your Veruca on. You were like, I want. I love it.
What's her name? Oh, God. I cannot think of the artist's name right now. But her bag was like all fur. It was like red fur with like a design. So it had like orange and black and green. And it was kind of like this motif of a mountain or something like that. Wow. It was amazing. I think Namsa Luba. I think that's who it was. But yeah.
People are not giving up their limited edition Lady Dior bags. I've been on eBay nonstop. I have my alerts going. Like I am on the hunt for a Jamilla Okubo.
I'm pretty sure they're going to give them up within like 10 years or something like that. And they're trying to resell it.
Oh, I will keep my eye out. I mean, do you know how long I waited for a Givenchy top, like the one that one of Ricardo's designs that Erykah Badu wore in one of the ads, and I was like, I need that. It took me a minute, like a while, in my size, and I was like, when I finally found it, I'm like, yeah.
And you're like, it's mine. I love
those items.
Oh my God! You know what I'm excited for, and I'm going to get my hands on it. I don't know how, but I will. The Christopher John Rogers and Target collaboration.
Wait, I think we have time. No?
Yeah, we do have time.
Okay.
We have time. Cool. June, right? It's June 6th, I think.
Hold on. I gotta double, quadruple check. No, I know they put all of the products up so that you can pre-shop. Yeah. Or not pre-shop, but like window shop and make your list so that when midnight hits, you can do what you got to do. So it's up right now.
Let me do that now.
It's up right now. And while we're talking about this is actually something I wanted to ask you. Who are some of the designers that like you're really into right now? Because whenever I'm like, I need some new Black designers to look into, I look at your Instagram page. I'm like, yes, there's another one.
I mean, my top favorite designers in general would be Lisa Folawiyo, Super Yaya.
Okay.
Jack Muse, is that how you say it?
Girl, I'm like, I think so. I believe.
Forgive me if I butcher the name.
I'm like an elder millennial, so some brands I'm just like, oh, let the young people do their thing.
I can't pronounce this either. Eckhouse Lata.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what
I love it. You're like, I like the brands that I cannot pronounce. I love it.
Pretty much. I mean, I love, I also really did like Fenty. It was overpriced for me. I love the looks that Riri was wearing. And then for accessories, I love, and these are all Black designers. Again, I cannot pronounce English.
Oh, Lord.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure English was my second language, but whatever. Le Enchanteur,
So in French, the ER is typically like a you know.
Le Enchanteur?
Probably.
Something like that?
Probably.
Yeah.
This is so fun. Oh, wait. Okay. What's the next one?
Idas. Only reason I know how to pronounce it is because I heard my friend Sade.
Lord help me. I cannot. Girl, I just... sorry. I'm dying over here, you guys.
And Telfar.
And I mean, I am a major Brandon Blackwood fan.
Ooh, yes.
I need my end systematic racism bag. I hopefully in pink. He's doing another drop on May 10th. I'm super excited.
With a lot more bags, right?
I hope so. I
swear I saw someone tweet it.
I'll be refreshing. Like, that's going to be my Mother's Day gift to myself.
Ooh, yes, you deserve.
That's all I want. I just want a Brandon Blackwood bag, Well, thank you so much. You are such a joy. I'm just so glad you're here. Thank you for being you and your journey and just being inspirational without even trying, I love it. It takes a lot to just be who you are. And that's the thing, right? Like, be who you are. Like, when you shine your light inside, you give permission to others to do the same.
I live by that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you're dope. Thank you so much for being on A Fashion Moment.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Jamilla Okubo. And you can find me on Twitter cutting up, but I would not recommend it. But
I love your TikTok. Every once in a while, she'll make an appearance and do something.
I try. I can't. I realize TikTok is for like my sister's generation. I was like, God, am I supposed to be here? Because I'm trying.
Girl.
I'm trying to find my niche where I belong.
I was like, I guess I'm auntie status at this point. I guess I'm an auntie. I accept it.
But I love your TikTok. I think there needs to be that kind of space, the creative side of TikTok.
Well,
aside from the funnies, I love a good laugh, but like more fashion related things.
Thanks so much for joining me for this week of A Fashion Moment. If you like what you hear, we'd love for you to join our community of listeners and spread the word about the show. We also want to hear from you. Share your favorite fashion moments and dream guests with us by sending an audio clip or email to afashionmomentpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can tag us on Instagram at A Fashion Moment, and you could be featured on next week's episode. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review and let us know what you think. Until then, see you next time for another Fashion Moment. Podcast production by Rebecca Rashid and John Taylor Williams. Digital media production by Megan Porras.
This recording carries a Creative Commons 4.0 international license. Thanks to Patrick Patricios for their song, Hot Coffee.